The JLR interview series.
Okay, so it's Tuesday morning, coming up to midday, and Jazz London Radio has another Skype interview, and really nice to have an interesting musician with us. Her name is Maria Chiara Argirò, and she's here to talk about her new CD called Flow. So how are you this morning?
Well, yeah, it's a rainy morning as usual in London.
Yes, unfortunately these days it is. That's true. So we've got Maria to talk about her new CD, which I've been featuring on latest releases, and I think it's a really interesting CD actually. And it's got guitarists, so it's Maria with guitarist Jamie Leeming. Now, this is a chap that I interviewed actually some years ago in Sydenham, South London. So his name popped up, so that was good to see. And it's called Flow, and it was released last week on, am I pronouncing this correctly, Cavallo Records?
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Excellent. So the question I have for you is, how did this project come together? So it's piano and guitar basically, so just two instruments.
Yeah, we met at uni a few years ago, and it's been like a magical encounter since the beginning, because we've been playing on and off on jams at uni, and then in different projects, but we never jammed together. So one day we decided let's have a duo jam, and it's quite frightening at the beginning to actually play just with one person, and we found, I think, some magical something magic happens, because I found for the first time with an harmonic instrument a very strong balance. So each individual voice is not kind of on the weight of the other instrument, but it's more like creating a sort of balance, a very strong balance. And I think since then I was like, okay, Jamie is basically one of my favorite guitarists in London, and we start writing music together.
Okay, now with this combination, I mean, you've written the tunes, you put this project together. As far as I understand, there's only one cover, so there's lots of originals. I mean, was there any other piano guitar combinations you actually heard before you decided to do this, or how did it? What was the idea? Just to do that instead of getting a drummer in, or a bass player, or even a soprano saxophonist to make it a trio? Just the two of you.
Yeah, I think we are both. We like to basically search for new sounds, and I think Jamie, for example, his sound is really strong, and I'm always prioritizing in my playing the sound rather than any technique, or I really like to listen to sounds before any virtuosity. I'm always interested in this kind of music and musicians. And I mean, we can talk about Jim Hall, Bill Evans, but obviously we didn't want to make anything like that. We wanted to actually have a sort of a modern approach. So for example, Aaron Parks, Shy Maestro, Mike Moreno, they also have more modern guitar jazz duo. And I think we wanted to give a sort of without even thinking, we wanted to just do a guitar piano duo a bit more modern,
I understand. And John Scofield and McCoy Tyner did a few together, where Scofield played his more typical sound guitar. He didn't compromise. So that's what I actually found interesting about this particular CD, is the fact that Jamie's really, in some tracks, really going all out on his guitar, like a rock guitar player would, and it's just a piano comping. And that's to me, that's quite innovative and unusual from all the other piano guitar combinations I've heard over the years. So that's what really drew me to it. So yeah, it's quite innovative.
Thank you. That's amazing because it's what you want to do nowadays. It's like reproducing something that you already heard. So thanks a lot.
You're welcome. So yeah, so you put that together, and one of the things is every Tuesday, Jazz London Radio does 2 hours of music without drums. So it's literally just any music, vocals, instrumentals, and this fits in perfectly. So that's really pleased about that as well. So yeah, I was saying that I interviewed Jamie in Sydenham. So you guys have played years ago in Sydenham, South London. So you guys have played together a lot besides this project, or?
Yeah, not quite a lot in other formats. So we actually we haven't played in other form lineup.
Okay.
We decided we just love to work together, and we are keeping even now in these times, keeping the momentum and writing new music as well, which probably is gonna sound slightly different. From this record.
That's great. That's something to look forward to as well. And on going back to this record, what was your what's the right way to put it? The way you approached your piano playing when you just have another person with you. Did you have to change your methods at all?
I was more thinking in an impressionistic way, definitely. Because usually I always been playing in the past years with lots of other musicians in a band. And in this case I felt, obviously scared somehow, but also overexposed. So I had to find a way to give a bit of warmth to my sound. So I was definitely thinking in a more impressionistic way when we worked on this record and we recorded in particular, the record.
And do you have to think in a more orchestral way? Do you have to have the bass player, double up as the bass player, find the rhythm, things like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think in this record, my way of playing was covering basically everything possible on the piano, from low to mid to high range of the piano. So I was looking for new ways of basically replace any bass player, or even more percussive way.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, is that something that you quite enjoy, that challenge?
Yeah, I mean, I love to challenge myself all the time, and I think Jamie has a similar attitude. So it's after we record this record, we were really surprised about how everything sounded, and we were super pleased. And I was actually happy for the first time. I'm oh wow, this is two musicians playing, and it sounded we did something different, and special, especially because we come from a vision which is always being honest all the time. So even if I think this record actually represents a side of us, soulish side, where we don't want to showing off anything, because you cannot really do that on a duo record. You know what I mean? It's it's you have limited possibilities.
Oh. No, I'm just thinking
that's what I think. You have limited possibilities, and it means that you cannot hide.
Yeah.
It's you. It needs to be you.
No, so I was just thinking, as you said that, my mind was going back to the 70s, 1970s, because a lot of the fusion musicians back then, they found lots of ways to show off their technique.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So it's just, I say, it's a different era and things move on all the time, doesn't it? And so the other thing I wanted to get into is about yourself. How did you get into piano playing, and your influences? It doesn't have to be piano influences, could be anyone.
Yeah,
Primarily,
I started with classical music, and then around 12, 13, I got into Monk. let's go straight to Monk, and Herbie Hancock, and then like lately, I must say I've been more fascinated by the modern jazz pianist. As I said, like Aaron Parks, Shai Maestro, Nitai Ershkovitz. I also been studying with Shai for a while.
All right, yeah.
Yeah, when I was I've been in New York for a couple of months, and I had a lot of lessons with him. And so it's a journey, you know. I'm now like obviously reshaping my sound once more with what is gonna come next. So it's always fun. But in terms of pianist, I was really, really into Thelonious Monk when I was younger.
Yeah. Well, what is it that drew you to Monk? Because obviously his sound was really different to a lot of the conventional players at that time.
I think it's his way of being original and his attitude. I think he doesn't care basically of what people think. And this means is like he's gonna like play with his own voice, and that's something I'm always looking for when I hear any pianist or like Keith Jarrett. Is like you can recognize him from his first note, and that's something I think like it is my priority when I listen to piano players.
Yeah.
I don't care about I don't care too much about the language. As soon as I think it arrives me in a different way, it means like, you know, it means like it's okay. I recognize Thelonious Monk. I recognize Herbie Hancock after 3 notes, and this is what I think it's really important in music to be you and not someone else.
Yeah, I mean, is that something that, you know, the younger musicians today, is that a challenge? Is that a really big challenge for younger musicians now?
I think we are overexposed to a lot of music, so you actually like are more influenced by a lot of other music. So it means that if you are into a musician, you're gonna, especially when you're young, you're gonna almost want to sound like him because it sounds great, you know. So that's it. It's for sure a challenge, but I think about music in a more like spiritual way, like really going deeply, almost like meditating about what you want to sound like. If it makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it makes sense because actually one of the questions I had lined up to ask you was kind of along those lines, because I was going to say I've listened to some of your other tracks. I think it's your third release. Is that right? Your third release. Yeah. So I've checked out some of your other things, and really there's a lot of atmospheric sound going on in your music. There was one track, sadly I can't remember the name right now, where it was you and a drummer, and the drummer was literally laying down a rock rhythm. He wasn't really laying down jazz at all, and you were comping on top of it, which I really found quite interesting. And it was quite atmospheric, and I was wondering if you into electronic music as well, or...
Yeah, that's a very good question, because my next record is gonna be much more electronic. I'm absolutely going towards that direction, so yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, you mentioned Herbie Hancock. I mean, he's someone that did an amazing array of different musics over the year. Yeah,
so inspiring to basically like see all his career. It's been like he did everything, and I think what we don't have to forget that this is obviously I take it as a serious job, but also like it's fun to play with other people. It's fun to create, and I have to always remind myself that we have to have fun. It's a game at the end of the day, even though it's like at the moment everything feels like there is not a game anymore and there is no fun about it. I have to remind myself that it's a game, and I think Herbie Hancock is it's been one great inspiration, because it's basically like having fun, creating all the time.
Yeah, no, that's true. I remember Frank Gambale said, because he played with Chick Corea for many years, and he said that's how Chick Corea treated it, like a fun exploration. That was his word. So, just to go to treat it as fun. And as Juliana Hatfield told me, you have to be prepared to make an idiot out of yourself.
Exactly, yeah.
Just to finish up then, I just wanted to ask you, with what's gone on with the pandemic and everything, how your plans have changed this year, and if you got any plans for 2021, like were you and Jamie planning to do gigs together and things like that?
I mean, yeah, that was the previous plan, and now we are, we wanted to observe also how this record, is going. We want to observe this, and then I think we want to still co-write together, and we have already like 3 tunes we want to rearrange. And me personally, this is my attitude. Every time something negative happens, I have to turn it into positive, I think. And I've been writing a new record. I've been recording a new record during lockdown, and and obviously it's a very, very hard time for any artist out there, but I cannot lose the enthusiasm, because I think it's impossible for me to just give up basically on things. So I'm gonna keep pushing, even and readapting. It's been interesting, because everyone had to readapt to something. I had to readapt my timetable. I had to start teaching much more, and it's not nothing. I think it's only negative. I learned how to record myself during lockdown. Like, I learned how to record the piano, and if it wasn't for the lockdown, you know what I mean? It's like
of course.
It's important, I think, not to lose the vision of what you're doing. It's hard. I'm not saying that, I think everyone experienced up and down during the pandemic, and it's still like up and down, but I think it's my almost mission to bring the up.
Yeah, good.
And the down,
downside. I'm glad to hear that, actually. Yeah, that's what's needed right now. Lots of releases, been lots of good music come out this year.
Absolutely. And the other thing is that you had the time, a bit of more time to listen to all this great music, while before it was like, some music, and then like no actual time to sit down and listen to it.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's very true. So, great. Well, first of all, it's a great release, so congratulations on that.
Thank you.
And so I'll just really reiterate to the listeners. So it's called Flow, and it's on Cavallo Records, and it was released last week on the 6th of October, so I recommend you go and get it in the usual places, Bandcamp and...
Everywhere, Bandcamp, especially Bandcamp.
Okay. And, if you want to tell your listeners your website so they can check out, your updates on there.
So it's mariachiaramusic.com and jamieleeming.com.
Okay, that's great. Well, so thanks for the interview with Jazz on the Radio today.
Thank you so much. It's been a great pleasure.
Okay, you're welcome.
Thanks.
The JLR interview series.